What's going on to all my Why the Last fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again, breaking down the latest episode, episode 7, which was titled My Mother Saw a Monkey, an episode in which we meet this new utopia group of women who used to be ex-cons. We see that one of our characters lose someone that were very close to them, and we get the return of a character who seems to be undercover, who wants to take down the Pentagon. We're breaking it all down here in this spoiler review, but before we dive into it all, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. If you enjoyed this spoiler review of episode 7 of Why the Last Man, well, make sure to like and share the review. It helps out the channel a lot, but also appreciate the support. And once you've seen the 7th episode, because we're talking spoilers, let's talk about it in the comments. Let's talk about Yorick and this new group of mysterious women who used to be ex-cons and the secrets they hold. Also, Yorick might have a new thing going on with one of the women. And also, Allison in 355, is there something that might be going on with them? But at the same time, we have all the stuff going on with the Pentagon and Kim and Oliver now having even more reasons to go after President Brown, especially what happens to Kim's mom, and maybe Kim blaming President Brown for calling her mom crazy. And also, Beth is back. She seems to be working undercover. Who is this group, and will they be able to take down the Pentagon? Only time will tell, but let me know your pros, your cons, your thoughts, and theories for the weeks ahead in the comments below. So I'm going to say it right now, just my initial thoughts. This was easily the best episode of this series so far. The writing was there, the performances were solid, the stakes were there, the drama was there. I mean, there was a lot of good stuff going on with this episode. I don't really have any main criticism with this episode at all. This new group has a really nice dynamic. I hope we get more of them. I hope we learn more about them and we just don't like meet them and then go off and not see them again, because they got a lot of good stuff, a lot of secrets I want to learn about, the relationships they maybe develop. I don't know how I feel about 355 and Allison. We'll talk about it in this breakdown, obviously. But, you know, even that stuff was just so rich. But then even the stuff at the Pentagon was just even richer. Kim and her mother dying and what that could mean, and her blaming the president for her mother taking her own life. Obviously, the stuff with Oliver still going on. And then Beth. Who's the group she's working with? Will they be able to take the Pentagon down? Again, this was a fantastic episode. Just my thoughts. I thought it was the best of the season so far, but let me know yours in the comments. So let's break this episode down as we open up with our team that come across this camper, but obviously before they even come across the camper, there's tension. You know, we know that there's still beef amongst Allison and Yorick as they tried to escape 355 last week. She's still upset with them. They're upset with her. So there's a lot of tension going on in the air, but that tension has to be put on hold because we see that 355 crashes the camper. She falls asleep at the wheel, and this probably gives Allison a little bit more fuel to the fire that we don't need to be with her because she doesn't have the best interest for our lives. But we'll talk about Allison and 355 a little bit later. But Allison is the first one to wake up after this crash. She sees that Yorick is passed out. The monkey's okay, which is good. But she notices that 355 is missing. She comes out of the camper only to be met by this new group of people. Can we trust them? Can we not? We'll talk about them in this breakdown. But let's head back to the Pentagon where we see President Brown and Oliver. They're questioning the soldiers that were tasked to fight for 355. And we see that the president is still doing a good job of keeping her lies and keeping everything at bay. But we see that she is doing a great job of doing this because they obviously tell her that Yorick is safe. You know, she hears that they were with the man and they were with the doctor. The mission seems to be still at par, but she still can't trust 355. She doesn't know who she is. So she's doing a good job of not being too happy to hear her son's safe, but at the same time not being afraid to hear that her son is still with this who she doesn't know who this person is. So again, President Brown has a lot going on her plate right now, but nonetheless we see that she wants to bury these soldiers in regards to let's reassign them, let's not have them. You know, she shoots down the idea of the one soldier who saw Yorick. She's like, no, you were hit with a tranquilizer, you were the only one that's seen them. So she really puts her down, and she wants this whole group of women to be put to another task because she doesn't want her secret to get out, which it almost does later in this episode. But back to Yorick, who is finally up at this point. He doesn't know where he is. He just knows that he's waking up to this random woman. He has no clothes on as he gets to meet this new group, who again, this new group to me is really cool as far as their dynamic, and there's a lot of stuff I want to learn about them. There's some secrets that they have at hand, but we know Yorick, he can't keep his mouth shut. He pretty much tells them everything that we know as an audience to a certain extent, right? He doesn't tell them about Allison and them wanting to, use his blood to maybe, do a genetic science thing of bringing the men back into the world, but he does tell them, I have a Y chromosome, a monkey has a Y chromosome, and just again, he's just blabbing at the mouth as he's used to doing, but he thinks that, or let's just say the women think that he was held against his will, which brings us us to checking in on 355 and Allison, where we check in with them. But even before we check in with them, we get this dream sequence where we see 355 waking up and she's woken up to death. And we get that backstory of who those people in the car were, and it kind of explains how she maybe got into the whole underground, or not to say underground, but this secret task force that she's a part of. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But it's in this scene that they're held captive, and this is where, again, 355 is such a smart person. She's like, this is a prison, and those people that took us are probably the prisoners, which we'll get into here in a second. But we get a return of a character that we haven't seen since episode 1, and that is a return of Beth. Obviously, we know her to be the girlfriend of Yorick. She is seen by the president. The president brings her in, and it's very, again, the president can keep, her son can't do this. He can't keep his mouth shut, but she is good at keeping things in, as she doesn't tell Beth. When she first sees her, I would have thought she would have said, he's alive, he's doing good, but she keeps that information from her, which is good on her part, because we later find out that Beth is someone that doesn't keep secrets. But again, I'm like, damn, President Brown can really, I guess that's what it takes to be the president, right? You got to keep your secrets, as we know. But speaking of secrets, we see that Kim and Oliver continue to conspire to bring down the president, and Kim's mom, Marla, she is shocked to hear the description of the person that they hear about in that meeting that they went to earlier, that it's the same person. It's Yorick that she saw weeks ago, but she was told that she was crazy, which I think plays into, again, crazy. Mom, you're crazy. Oh, we didn't tell you about the house going down. Oh, we didn't tell you about this. These are just all the little things that kind of led her to making her decision a little bit later on in this episode. But again, when she saw that, she was shocked to learn that she wasn't crazy. But going back to this utopia group of women, as they are a group of women that vote on every decision, which is the polar opposite of what's going on with Roxanne and her crew. They obviously are drinking Roxanne's Kool-Aid and they do everything that she says, but this is the opposite. They vote on things. There is that Janis lady that seems to be more of a leader, even though they don't have a leader in the group. She seems to be the main person they go to. But again, I like their dynamics. I like all the actors. They had some wittiness to them. They had a little spunk to them. So I'm really enjoying this group, and I really hope we get more of them, and we don't just, again, meet them and just kind of move on to another group or move on to another plot. I want to spend at least a couple more episodes of learning who this group is all about and what secrets they have up their sleeves. But going back to Allison and 355, they still don't like each other. There's still some tension in the room. And again, they come up with the 355 says, yeah, I can tell by the scratches and the blood that this is, we're being held by ex-cons. And then something weird happens. We see that Allison's checking on her, and she's like, you need medical help. And then they pause for a second, almost like they were going to kiss. And I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work in the show. I don't know if that dynamic really makes a lot of sense that they would have this romance. Again, I'm not going to judge, because maybe they can make it great. Maybe this can be a really cool dynamic of a relationship if that's something that they hinted at, because I think that they did hint at there's a romance there. The two polar, as they say, opposites attract. Again, I don't know if those actors can bring that. 355 is the best actor in that group of people that we've seen so far, but I don't know if that works. Again, I could be overlooking it, but let me know if you thought they were hinting at a potential romance, because 355, she's like, get away from me, don't look at me, this. But I think the show is hinting at that relationship. Is that something you guys thought as well? And is that something you would like to see? Let's talk about it in the comments. But nonetheless, this is when we learn that 355, we go a little bit back to that dream that she had early in the episode. And that dream was something that was reality. When she was 12 years old, her family died due to a car crash, which may explain how she was able to get a part of that group led by Fran, as the other agent said that they normally pick orphans and people that lost their family to be a part of the group. So that kind of explains how she was able to get a part of the group, because she lost her family at a very young age, and she's dealt with a lot of stuff in her past, which can explain why she's so cold and kind of the way she goes about things in the present day. So I love that we're continuously getting the little breadcrumbs of who she used to be before she became a Black Widow. So moving on, this is when Yorick comes in and fills them in on the situation at hand. But let's go back to Kim and Oliver, who are driven more than ever to get President Brown out of the presidency. Kim wants to have a nation of mothers, which is interesting. She says mothers because she loses her mother at the end of this episode, but they want to, the number one priority now, because they know that Yorick is out there, they need to get Yorick because they want to bring back the men. And we also know that they want to get, the second thing now on the list is getting the President Brown out of presidency. So again, they're more driven than ever to get their task done at hand. So the truth almost comes out because we see that Marla comes in confronting President Brown about, you called me a liar. I knew I saw what I saw. And then she's just like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead. I don't even care about it anymore. I think that was like her moment when she's like, my daughter's lied to me. You know, I've lost everything, my husband, my grandkids. And at least I have this now. I know I'm not crazy. And I think that was her moment when she knew that she just wanted to just be done with it all. And we'll obviously get to that moment a little bit later. But again, we see at this point, Beth says her goodbyes to President Brown. And again, President Brown doesn't tell her that her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, the guy that proposed to her, is alive. So again, really, really interesting to see how different Beth is if she inevitably finds out that Yorick is out there. And especially when Yorick finds out that she's alive, that's going to be an interesting scene to see, no less. But as we kind of wrap things up, we see that the group, after the team gets back together, the Utopia group offers Yorick and Allison and Agent 355 to, stay with us until 355 recovers. We'll give her the attention that she needs. And they have a pretty good situation going on. They have food, they have electricity, they seem to have like a good thing going on in regards to the morale around the group. But we all know, in this type of post-apocalyptic type of theme of the show, things are going to probably hit the fan sooner rather than later. But it's in this moment that we learn that Janis, she, isn't as good as she seems to be. She's killed 2 people in the past, and it is confirmed that they all are ex-cons, and she killed someone back in the 70s. And we see this conversation between Janis and one of her people, Dom, as they mention that there's some type of secrets. How did they get this place? Who was it that they took this place for? How did they get out of their prison cells? They've probably done some bad things to get in the position that they have. But again, that's something that I want to learn. What did they do? Who did they kill? All that stuff is very fascinating. But it's in this moment, too, that Dom says, make sure that girl that's been talking to Yorick this entire episode, make sure she doesn't get too close, because it's clearly showing that Yorick and this girl are going to probably have some type of relationship. And I can just see it now. He might get into this thing with this girl and then at the same time find out about Beth. There's going to be a little bit of drama going on there, but there's definitely some romance going on with those characters. But as we end the episode, we see that Marla takes her life. She leaves a note for Kim to see. Kim's obviously like yelling, screaming. She's upset. I think this is the moment that Kim's going to, we thought that she was bad. Now she's going to be like completely going after President Brown. She's going to blame President Brown for the death of her mother, calling her crazy, not believing in her. My mom saw Yorick weeks ago. We could have solved this. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on with the presidency now, and she's going to be crazy to get her off of the presidency. So that's something to look forward to. But we in the episode with Beth, she meets her group. She's undercover, and they want to take down the Pentagon. So again, how many of these women are a part of Beth's group? Is she second in command? What will they do with the Pentagon? Is it for good intentions? Is it for bad intentions? Only time will tell. But again, I thought this episode was easily the best of the season. The stakes were there. The drama was there. The writing was great. The performances were solid. This was a great episode of Why the Last Man. I think this is a template of what this show can offer in the future. I didn't like last week's. It was my least favorite episode last week, but this one is my favorite. So it kind of goes to show the dynamic and the roller coaster of the show so far. But based on this episode and based on previous episodes, there's a lot of goodwill in this show. I just think that they have a hard time sometimes ironing out all the kinks. Sometimes the performances aren't that strong. Sometimes a little bit too political and a little bit too heavy-handed in some of this messaging. But this was the perfect balance for me personally. So I think that with all that being said, this is my favorite episode. But I want to know your thoughts. Pros, cons, thoughts, and theories. Let's talk about it in the comments. If you stuck around to this point in this review, I appreciate every single one of you all. Before you leave, make sure to like this video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and of course, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. That way you don't miss any of my other future reviews. As you all can see on the screen now, subscribe to the channel, check out my other content. Hope you enjoyed this review, and we'll see you on the next one.